Someone somewhere once said that opposites attract. I don't know if that's true, but I know for sure that things that are utterly and completely different attract. Hello, welcome to Intermarifica, New Mexico, the channel where we look at questions of wonder from the perspectives of faith and reason, philosophy and theology. I'm your host, Daniel Kelly, and today we're looking at one of the most wondrous things of all, in my opinion, the most wondrous thing of all, in fact, which is love. And the recent Vatican document, Dignitas Infinita, I think sheds some light on our vocations, how we're called to love, and what love is. But I'm not going to start with that. When we're looking at love, what we find is it's not equality that's important. In fact, what's important is our differences. That's what makes us fall in love with anybody, right? And in fact, I would say difference is the basis of love. We can look at the Trinity. The Father loves the Son. He doesn't love himself, in as much as they're different. The Son loves the Father. He doesn't love the Son. And their differences, not that they're both God. If aught was good, as George MacDonald said, if aught was good but God, he would love that and not God, right? So he only loves because he sees this goodness of the other, right? And that's the basis of love. And some people say, well, what about love between the sexes, right? Married love, conjugal love, romantic love. Shouldn't there be equality there? And I think, no, the right answer to this comes from C.S. Lewis in his novel, That Hideous Strength. These characters are talking, this person who's not a Christian and this really wise Christian person. And the person who's not a Christian said, I thought it was in their souls that people are equal. And he responds, that's the last place they're equal. Equality before the law, equality of incomes, that is all very well. Equality guards life, it doesn't make it. It is medicine, not food. And then she comes back with, but at least in marriage we're equal, surely in marriage. And he says again, worse and worse, courtship knows nothing of it, nor does fruition. And then he goes on later and says, no one has ever told you that obedience, humility, is the erotic necessity. You are putting equality just where it ought not to be. Right? So I think one of the reasons we don't have romantic relationships, I saw someone just mentioning, it's like most of the romances so-called on movies are not very romantic. And why is that? Why don't we have... Well, we've forgotten that it's seeing the other person. It's not inequality. If I'm just as good as you, that doesn't make love. It makes bitterness. That's what we have to look up to the other person. C.S. Lewis in his book, The Four Loves, he says, okay, yeah, the basis of a lot of loves is differences. He's like, affection, storge, yeah, that's where we find love is that person. Yeah, it grows us out of ourselves because we find someone who's so different than us, and we love them. And he says the same thing about erotic love, but then and we could talk more about the four loves in a different video. But in friendship, he says that it's equality that we're all equals. And that's kind of true, but I actually think he would agree with there's a deeper truth where difference makes love, even in that case. And we'll get back to that. I wanted to get back to what Dignitas Infinita says. Dignitas Infinita, in its wonderful... there's so many wonderful parts about it. There's some difficult parts, and maybe I'll talk about that in a different part, but so many wonderful, really amazing parts of this document. Some of the best sections are 55 to 59, and I want to read from 58. I think the best part of this whole document, by far, is section 58. It's just amazing. And it says, another prominent aspect of gender theory is that it intends to deny the greatest possible difference that exists between living beings. Sexual difference. This foundational difference is not only the greatest imaginable difference, but is also the most beautiful and most powerful of them. In the male-female couple, this difference achieves the most marvelous of reciprocities. It thus becomes the source of that miracle that never ceases to surprise us, the arrival of new human beings in the world. Whoa, what a statement. So it's saying, in this modern age, what we're doing is we're trying to deny differences. We're trying to boil everything down to the lowest common denominator. And that is a horrible thing to do, because this foundational difference between men and women is the greatest imaginable difference. That's the words that the Vatican's giving us. It's the greatest imaginable difference, but also the most beautiful and powerful of them. And I don't think that's to deny. Let's look at the three greatest differences in the world. The greatest difference, not in the world, in being itself. The greatest differences, I guess, would be between the persons of the Trinity, but we're not going to get into that. That would be Trinitarian theology. But the greatest differences is between uncreated being and created being, God and people, right? That's the biggest difference. Compared to that, the difference between a seraphim and a piece of dirt is no difference at all. So that's the biggest difference that exists in being, in what exists. Then the next biggest difference, and I don't think this document with its wording would deny that, but is this difference that it's talking about between men and women. That's the biggest difference in biological life that there is between male and female. And it's beautiful. So all these differences are beautiful. It is good that God is God and I'm not God. When growing up, I wasn't Christian. One of my favorite quotes from one of the gurus that my family listened to was, "It's better to taste sugar than to be sugar." Now, I disagree with some of what he was saying in his philosophy, but it's better for us to enjoy God and not try to be God. So that difference is beautiful and amazing, that I'm a created being, I'm a finite being, and God is an infinite being. That's amazing. And the next thing, it's amazing that men and women are so imaginably different. And if we try to get rid of that, we're going to have very sad, depressed, horrible lives. And then I would say the third biggest difference is just in every other person, that person's not me. That's a huge difference. And I would say, well, look at this. This leads us to our three vocations. These three differences lead us to our three vocations to love. First, the biggest difference. Everyone is called holiness. The main vocation is holiness, which is the vocation to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength, right? That's because that's the biggest difference, and that's the most romantic love story that there is the story between God and the love of a soul. It's amazing. It's beautiful. And that's the biggest love. That's the biggest vocation that we're all called to. The second biggest that some people are called to is the love between man and woman. Most people, 3/4 of people, are called to marriage. And their love springs from that. No matter how many things I have in common and all that stuff with my wife, she is completely and utterly different and beautiful, and that's what leads to romance. And the third thing is, if I'm called to religious life, I'm called to just that love based on the difference of just because another person, and this is lower than the other two differences, even though religious life is actually a higher state in life, but that's a different video. But I'm called, just to love my brother in all his difference. Just this person is different than me, and that springs out love. This person is a different person. And that's, I would say, the basis of any real friendship, that philios love, that friendship love that C.S. Lewis talks about. So difference isn't something to be ashamed of. Difference isn't something to be gotten rid of. Equality is good for guarding life, like C.S. Lewis said, but the spice of life is in that things are not equal, in that things are different. And let's see what Dignitas Infinita says. Let's say it again. It achieves the most marvelous of reciprocities, right? What are we called to? The Father loves the Son loves the Father. They reciprocate love. That love is the Holy Spirit. We're called to that too. When we see the differences, we share. That's the only way we're able to complement each other in love. The seraphim in the Bible, the seraphim say one to another, holy, holy, holy. It's because they see something that no other seraphim sees of God, just like we do. And they share that. It's the differences that we share and reciprocate. And then, just like it does with God, because we're little miniature images of the Trinity, that reciprocity between man and woman becomes the source of that miracle that never ceases to surprise us, the arrival of new human beings in the world. So this is just so beautiful. I hope that was helpful to you, and just meditate on this. And it's beautiful, and we'll go into different parts of the document maybe later on, but I hope that was helpful to you. It's just so inspiring to me, and that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. And you have a good day. God bless you.